We'll leave that alone. People, we're all here to do one thing, is to celebrate the life of Islam Sensei. Now, we know that everybody called him different. Some called him Soki, some called him Grandmaster. But in the midst of the things, it depends how close you was to him. Let me tell you something about Islam Sensei that we all know. The reason why we're here, because we needed to find closure for ourselves. This is why we're here today. Because the way it was done in the Muslim faith, if I'm not getting out of place, is the next day he was buried. And I happened to be at the wake of funeral at the mosque. So it didn't give any of us time to say our goodbyes. It didn't give us any time for us to stand over the casket and grieve. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this today. And first of all, I think everybody should give a round of applause to Cecile, because she's doing.
For those of you who do not know me, I take care of the injuries. And I've been doing it for over 50 years. In fact, I have a tournament on 9/11, and I have about 3 or 4 more for the rest of the year. I enjoy it. I've worked many of Mr. Johnson's tournaments, I believe 25 or 26 years. 26 years. Yes. Anyways, Wali, to me, was more than a karate person. He was my friend. He was family to my kids. We grew up, my kids, they call him the gentle giant when he came to my house. And Raven was there also, many times. I gotta use the glasses for some of my notes. Wali's weapons that he had, his sword and his bow, they are not very light. His sword was extremely heavy, and the bows today, they're like toothpicks compared to what he had. His was very, very heavy, very strong, and I would not want to get hit by one of them. Also, in taping his hands, and I taped a lot of the hands, especially for Mr. Griffin's students over the years. Wali's hands, normal I can do people's hands, a roll of tape for 2 hands. Wali was a roll of white tape, a roll of black tape on each hand. He had a very big hand, and I tell you, I did not want to get hit by him. Wali fought a lot of notable people. Andre Tippett, who was a Hall of Famer for the New England Patriots, Billy Blanks, Steve Nasty Anderson, and I can't count the number of times that he fought a gentleman by the name of Doug Peoples.
It's in the front.
Right here. Oh, that's right, it's in the front of me, all right? I cannot count the number of times, and I tell you, they were bloodbaths. But when it was all said and done, they were friends, and remained friends for the rest of their lives. Now, I want to say a story about the New England Open, Richie Baptista's tournament. Wali was fighting in the Grand Championship at night. And back in those days, you had the eliminations during the day, and then at night, you had the Grand Championships. There was a break in the day, and then you fought at night. Well, the prize for this one particular fight was $1,500 for the winner and the black belt. Back then, it was a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. Wali was fighting Mike Conroy. I was a medical person there. And Wali hit him with a nice reverse punch. And I was called to the ring. I had to go in there. Mike Conroy could not continue anymore. He had a concussion. He was out of it. So I figured, I'm going to bow out, no problem. Wali wins. Wrong. Mike Conroy was awarded the $1,500. All right? Now, it's all over. Wali's got to go home. And the driver that he's going home with was me, in my car. As we stopped on the Mass Turnpike, we ran into a Grateful Dead concert bus. And now, Wali wasn't in the best of mind, after losing $1,500. And on that bus was a former student of mine who I had in elementary and junior high school, and he wasn't the most pleasant type person. Well, he started, he saw me and recognized me. I didn't even recognize him. And Wally just pushed me aside and said, you know, I've got this. And he said to the person, I'm not a violent man. Now, mind you, he had about 4 or 5 of his friends with him. And they wanted whatever, who knows. But Wally just stood right there and he said, I'm not a violent man, but I am going to get violent with you. And the next thing you know, he and his 5 friends just ran away. That's Wally. Also, I had the privilege of going to one of his promotions. And during that promotion, one of his black belts, who was going for a different degree, broke his hand. So I'm getting ready to take care of him, and Wally said, no, you can't. I said, okay, fine. And then he said to me after, what would he do if he was on the street? Call for you? So he continued throughout the rest of his promotion, and that was Wally's way of saying, this is karate, and this is the way it is out in the world. Let me see what else I have here. Okay. At the Bluegrass Nationals in Kentucky, there was about 2,000 competitors there. I was one of the medical persons there. Anyways, I get a call to go to the ring, and a gentleman, a black belt, his nose looked like the Z from Zorro. And so I'm taking care of him, and then I turned around and I looked, who was the gentleman that was fighting? It was Wally. So I said, gee, what happened? He said, when they broke, because I was in a different ring taking care of someone, when they broke, they hit him way late. So you know it was going to come. And it did. And that was the end of that fight, and Wally was awarded that fight.
Black belt division, 16, 17 years old. I was looking up to guys like Wally, Raven Lee Smith over here. These guys are already in that division. And when I first stepped into the division, I was just like, oh, what have I done? You know, Wally's a 6'5" gigantic guy. I'm 16, 17 years old. And we ended up fighting, and he beat me senseless. And then, but he came up to me after the match and said, you know, what are you doing trying to punch with me like that? He goes, you gotta be kicking. I saw you kick, but you're a kicker. Why you gotta throw those kicks? And I thought, what competitor comes up to another competitor and starts giving them tips on what to do and how to beat them? But that was Wally. So we had some matches after that, and I ended up finally getting him one day. About 15 years ago, we ran into each other at a tournament, and we started talking, and we started bringing up a fight that we never talked about. It was Rich Baptista's New England Open. And back then we didn't wear headgear either, so you got just that safety stuff. Which should be illegal. It's like a sponge, and we're killing each other full contact. It's not like an 8-ounce glove or a 10-ounce glove, it's just a little piece of sponge. And he hit me so hard, I saw stars, I got like, even my neck went, I got like whiplash, and I was like, oh my God. But I wouldn't show it. And I said, if he throws that again, he's squaring off, I'm gonna throw a side kick with intent, and I'm gonna get him. And sure enough, I got him. So we kept going, and the match kept going on, and that was it. Well, 15 years ago, we started talking, and I can't do this story justice. It was one of those things you had to be there to see it. We started talking about that match, and I said, you almost knocked me out cold. I was out on my feet. And he's like, what? He goes, you clipped one of my ribs. I had a broken rib. And I'm saying, we never knew that. We just stood there, because I'm not going to show it, he's not going to show it. And we just stood there like, you know, macho guys that we are. And all of a sudden, we started laughing. I'm saying, I got the concussion, you got a rib, and we just started laughing so hard. We were holding each other up because I had tears coming out of my eyes, he's laughing, and when Wally laughed, you knew it. It was loud, boisterous, and it was one of the greatest laughs I've ever had. And I was thinking about it, you know, in life, it's not the cars, the houses, or the money or anything. You're not taking any of that stuff with you. That day, that laugh that I had with Wally is one that I will take to my grave. It was just a very, very special moment. So speed up past that. I hadn't seen Wally for about 20 years. And then I started this organization in Kempo with Don Rodriguez, Tony Fagliandro, and George Passari. We tried to bring Kempo people together, a group called the IKCG, and Wally wanted to get involved, called me, and I said, I would love to have you. So Wally gets involved, and now it's really starting to take off. And I just couldn't have asked for more support than I got from Wali Islam. He was truly, truly like a brother to me. He was who I would call if I had questions, things like that. And in the last few weeks of leading up to this, talking to different people who would be speaking or that knew him, one thing really sticks out with me with Wally is that he had a way of making everybody, including me, feel special. I would talk to him and I'd say, oh, you know, we were former competitors. We go way back. We're tight. I'm like this with Wally. You know, he loves me. I love him. I got this relationship with Wally. And he's got someone else and like, well, they have it too. Oh, and that person has it. And that person has it. And that person has it. Wally had a way of making everyone feel like that. Like you were special. And everyone in here, I know relationships that some of you guys have with them. Everyone was different. Everyone was unique. Wally would call me late at night, and we would talk for an hour. I truly love the guy. I was devastated when I heard about what had happened. We had so much more to do. So what I want to try to do is keep that organization going that he helped build. And what we have going right now is a really, really good thing. We're getting together. Where's Paul Johnson? Is Paul Johnson here? There he is. There he is. Paul Johnson's been a leader in getting these groups together, people together. And like I said, Paul, it's a really good thing what we have right now. And I think Wally will be happy.
Never trained with him, but we were always friendly at the tournaments and things like that. And I loved the way he did kata. I certainly loved the way he fought. And then one day I saw him use the sword. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. Our history is a little bit different. All these stories are great because a lot of those tournaments I was at. When I met O-Sensei, I had an associate's degree. And he said, what is that? That's nothing. What are you doing? I'm an assistant teacher in a school. What is that? You're going back to college. I went back to college, got my bachelor's. I became a special ed teacher. You speak Spanish, take that test. I became a bilingual special ed teacher. And I don't know if a lot of you know, but also O-Sensei was in the education field. So when I became a teacher, he was an assistant principal. And he said, don't you want to make more money? I said, yeah, but I gotta get my master's. So what? You're Hispanic, you can go to school free. Sensei, I gotta fill out these applications that are 50 pages long. And?
Learn jiu-jitsu the right way. And he took me in as a student, treated me like family, helped me with my job. I retired 30 years in the high school system because of him. He was very proud of me because he came in and, like Cecilia said, we worked together at the job. She was a big sister to me as well, working with my character. You know, I was a hothead. I had a temper back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I like to win. I was a person like that. But character is the most important thing that he represented. Also with Soki Paul Johnson, Soki Leo Williams, a lot of people there in my life as well. It was all about character, you know. And my sister Cecilia that was up here, she was my big sister. When I fell and did something crazy, she pulled me to the side. She said, Raven, we can't do that. You can't do that. They looking at you. I said, okay, Cecilia. And I listened.